So, analog photographers got some pretty big news today with the announcement of Lomography's new Lomo MC-A, which is their new compact 35mm film camera. It's kind of bittersweet news because I think this thing is probably going to bury all the other competition on the market right now. Now, normally I wouldn't be making a video like this, but this is particularly relevant for me because I actually just bought the Rollei 35AF. I actually don't even have it yet. I've been out of town for a week, and one of my friends who was like the middleman for the purchase, I haven't picked it up from him. So I haven't even touched it yet. And then I roll out of bed this morning and check my email, and I had this press release for the Lomo MC-A in my inbox. So let's go through what this thing is, and I'm going to give you some of my thoughts on how this is going to affect the landscape of the new analog camera market. So it's as I said before, it's a compact point and shoot camera essentially, but notably it has full manual features as well. So not only does it have autofocus, but it also allows you to manually zone focus, as well as having a manual advance, manual rewind. It also has a PC sync port. Compared to the Rollei 35AF, which only has the built-in flash, it has no hot shoe, it has no PC sync port. This camera also has a filter thread and a fully retracting lens. So it's 125.8 millimeters wide, 69.5 millimeters high, and 42 millimeters deep. Weight is 332 grams without the battery, and notably it takes a CR2 battery, which it comes with, but the CR2 battery that they are providing with this camera has a USB-C port for recharging. Some other important features to mention is that it has flash setting that allows you to control whether or not the flash is synced to the front or the rear curtain, which is interesting to me for a number of reasons. First and foremost, that I guess this camera has a focal plane shutter, which is not what I would have expected for something like this. I would assume that the R&D and the engineering would be a lot more costly and complex to design a new compact camera like this that has a focal plane shutter. As you know, if you've owned a point and shoot camera before, they generally have leaf shutters. And on top of that, usually the leaf shutters are the style that they're essentially an aperture and a shutter built into one, where the shutter will just open to the amount of light that it wants to let in for the correct exposure. Whereas this seemingly has a focal plane shutter. They say that it's mostly metal construction, which it appears to be the case, and it has sort of like a rubberized coating on it. The weight alone tells me that it's going to have probably a more premium feel than the Rollei. Based on videos that I've seen of people's reviews of that camera, one of their main complaints is that it feels kind of light and, for lack of a better term, cheap. The fact that I think it's about 100 grams heavier without the battery kind of tells me a lot about the construction of it. There's another kind of a nice feature here where it has this like molded grip, and the way that they've designed the advance lever, it acts as like one of those thumb rest things that people will like put onto their compact cameras in where the hot shoe is. So it's sort of like a multi-purpose component, which is really cool. It's just little thoughtful design details like that that are kind of neat. Now, obviously, the one important thing that I have yet to mention is the price, and this thing comes in at $549 for either the black or the silver. It also comes in silver, and it is the same price for either the black or the silver, unlike the Rollei 35AF, which I believe you have to pay about like $20 or $25 more for the black. Now, obviously, price and features and spec wanking is one thing, but when the rubber hits the road, the most important thing, at least in my opinion, is the image quality. And how is the image quality? How does it stack up against the other offerings on the market? And it's kind of hard to tell because until you see a 100%, full resolution image at 100%, it's really hard to tell exactly like how good this lens is. But to be completely honest with you, I scrolled down to this one, and it looks pretty good. I think this camera is definitely, from what I am seeing right now in front of me, within the realm of sharp enough, especially for its price point. I think that for $549, this thing is, the value proposition is pretty crazy compared to anything else you could buy right now, new or used, frankly. So I'll get into my actual reasons for buying the Rollei 35AF in a separate video, but one thing that I kept seeing pop up when people were reviewing this camera when it was first released is that they were continually comparing it to other things that could be bought at the same price point, rather than comparing it to an equivalent based on its feature set. At the time, there was nothing else on the market that provided the same combination of features that the Rollei 35AF was providing, aside from these premium compact used point and shoots that could, end up being a brick. Now, obviously, that argument with the announcement of the MC-A is basically null and void. And when we compare it to what else is available on the market, the Rollei or the Analog AF1 or the Pentax 17, I should say the Analog AF1 hasn't even been released yet, which it kind of fucking sucks for them, because I think that at this point it's just dead in the water. Like, I don't know how much this was going to cost. And in fact, I believe the pre-orders had to be locked in like around now. I'll put that up on the screen. I'll figure that out and put it up on the screen, but I think this was a very strategic timing. So the question is, why would you buy anything else other than the Lomo MC-A? There's really only two reasons I could think of to either buy the Rollei 35 or the Pentax 17 over the Lomo MC-A. So for the Rollei, I would say the styling, which is kind of crazy, but like I do think, I know that there are a lot of people that kind of care more about how their camera looks than how it functions. And I do genuinely prefer the styling to the Rollei 35AF to this. Now, do I think that this camera looks bad? No. It's nice. It's kind of nondescript in my opinion. And then on the other hand, the Pentax 17, if you were an absolute diehard for the half frame, even that this thing can kind of do, because they're shipping it with their what they call their splitzer, which is it's like something that you can block half of the frame with. And because you can do the unlimited multiple exposures, you can just use this camera presumably like a half frame camera. Now, I don't know if they're gonna have little like denotations or whatever in the frame, like the frame lines for where that split would be for the half frame, but if they do, then there's really no reason why you would buy the Pentax 17 over this. It just does everything and more. The price too, the Pentax 17 I believe is a $500 camera. This is $550, and you get, what else do you get? It comes with like a laundry list of stuff. You get the camera, the cap, it comes with a UV filter, it comes with some kind of like protective thing to put over it, a strap, the splitzer thing, the flash gels, the rechargeable battery. So, as I said before, the value proposition is like pretty insane. And my prediction for what's going to happen is they are going to bury all their competition, and then once they do that, they're going to raise the price of this. That would be my, that's the only outcome that I really see possible here. So what does that mean for people that have purchased the rest of these cameras? I wouldn't be too worried about the Pentax 17, like about Ricoh not following up on the warranty for that. I think that, they'll still make good on warranty claims for this. But the Rollei 35AF with mint camera, they claimed to have bet their company on the success of this, which I don't know what their sales numbers were, whether or not they have sold enough to at least break even. I don't know. Like if they were to go under, good luck getting your camera repaired. Now, for me personally, I don't particularly care, because I'll just tear the thing apart myself and do what I can to try and fix it. But 99% of people are not going to do that. The reason why I hadn't really spoke about these like new camera projects before is because, to be completely honest with you, I didn't really have anything optimistic to say about it. I never really thought that these were going to be particularly successful because I've fixed and sold cameras in the past, and I know that like people will say, "Oh, I'll buy this, I'll buy that." Not like the vast majority of people are not actually going to buy it, and people have been really spoiled on being able to buy used gear for such affordable prices relative to what it had originally sold for back when it was new, that I just knew that a lot of these things were going to be a really tough sell, to be able to price them competitively enough but still have a decent profit margin, because a lot of people just don't realize just the sheer cost of not just research and development. It's one thing to make to have a small scale operation where you have this this niche product you're making for a small group of people, and they're willing to pay a fairly high price for it, and you can it's not large scale production. But as soon as you start doing large scale mass production, the tooling costs is insane to tool out a factory to be producing parts. And that's why a lot of these projects, they were trying to use off the shelf parts. Like with the Rollei 35AF, I remember them saying that they tried to use infrared, but they had to use LiDAR because the infrared module, like the actual autofocus modules that were used so commonly in the 90s and stuff, like no one produces them anymore. So in a lot of cases, I think they're just not, they're not able to use off-the-shelf parts, which makes it really, really difficult for them to keep the prices down. So anyway, the reason why it's kind of bittersweet is because I hate to see these other projects just get completely decimated, but I really don't see how these other companies can compete with this camera at this price point. I really don't. I think Pentax and Mint played their cards as well as they could. I know a lot of people were dogging on the Pentax 17 because it was targeted at more of like a beginner zoomer type social media audience, but I think that was probably the correct move. In a way, I feel like they were kind of caught between a rock and a hard place, because they had to balance designing a camera and a product and hitting a price point that would please new film shooters, people who have never touched an analog camera before, and like the seasoned veterans of analog photography. And I think it was a major detriment for them that they put this, to be honest, like that they put it into the hands of so many people on YouTube who are like very invested in analog photography and have lots and lots of experience, because of course it's not going to be a camera for them. So when all the media surrounding your new product that you're trying to get off the ground is being presented by people that are not the target audience for your product, that's an issue. Really what they needed to do was get it into the hands of like social media influencer types, but people who haven't shot film before. But the issue with doing that is then you alienate the veteran crowd, and people feel betrayed that you're sending your review units or whatever off to people who are not, analog photographer content creators. Yeah, I mean, it was just a really hard balancing act, and I think that they did the best that they could. But yeah, in the case of the Rollei 35AF with Mint, I think what they were trying to do was cater to the crowd of people that were hoping to get a new Pentax K1000, but also to everyone who was crying out to get a new premium compact point and shoot. And I think they did a pretty good job of managing that balancing act, but at the same time, when you're trying to redesign an old thing and modernize it, you're restricted by the old design. Whereas Lomography were just decided, okay, well, we're going to make this new thing, and we want it to have X, Y, and Z feature, and then they did it. Basically, if the styling doesn't matter to you, I think the Lomo MC-A is the best value new analog film camera on the market with a bullet. I think I think the rest of these projects are basically just cooked. Like, I don't know. I don't really know what else to say about it. I wish that wasn't the case because it's a shame. Competition is always good. Obviously, I'm still excited to get my Roll I-35 AF, and I'll let you know my thoughts once I shoot with it for a while. I'd love to shoot with the MC-A as well, but I really can't afford to buy another new camera right now. So anyway, yeah, I thought I'd share my thoughts with you guys. I'd love to hear what you guys think about this whole thing. If you're planning on getting one of these, or how you feel about the other offerings that are on the market for now. If you bought one of these other things before, are you mad that you bought one? Because I think there's probably a fairly sizable amount of people that really wanted this camera and they settled for one of the other ones. But yeah, anyway, so let me know your thoughts on this new announcement, and I'll catch you in the next one. Later.